Maybe your family is like, this is the year we're going to pursue adopting an older child and take those first steps. But also at the same time, maybe you've been thinking about it, but there are some, reservations you have, maybe some fears. I wanted to ask you, Michelle, what are some of those things that you hear from families where they're like, I've been thinking about it, but I don't know, maybe it's not the right time for them right now. Right. What are you hearing?
Yeah. Well, we hear all kinds of things. I think what I'd like to just touch on is what are some of the reasons why we might also agree that this is not the right time. Because there is, right? There's timing. And so main things that we really are looking at, right, is we've talked all along about how we want families to be strong and to thrive in this, not just survive, but thrive.
Right.
And so we are looking at things like finances. We're looking at family relationships. We are looking at your own healing. So things like if you have conflict or estrangement from adult children, we want those relationships to be resolved because our adoptive families, right, we're modeling and we are kind of showing our kids what happens if things go wrong. And what we want them to see is we can repair that, right? That it's okay. We are going to make mistakes, but we're still going to be family. So if there's dynamics in your family that just need to be addressed and healed, absolutely make that the priority first. Finances, right? And again, none of us we don't have to be millionaires to adopt at all. DCS adoption actually doesn't cost anything in the end. There's an initial home study fee, but that's even reimbursed when you finalize an adoption. So very low cost, but you do have to make sure, right? You're bringing in kids, they're teenagers or older kids. There's going to be all the shoes and the clothes that they outgrow and expenses. And so we want to make sure that families have a sufficient discretionary income. So we do a whole budget process.
I was going to ask, do you budget with the family to see, hey, can you afford to add another child into your life?
Yeah. So our families fill out their current budget and then a estimated budget when we add the child. So how will your expenses change? Are you cutting back on work hours to be available? So income's going to drop. It's going to cost more in your groceries or your dining out, your vacation fund, all of those things. So yes, we do that. Okay. And then the other big area that I would say comes up frequently is just our own healing and making sure that any areas of pain or grief in our loss that we've resolved, because when that child's history meets your history, it can either be beautiful and you can help heal, or it can be a disaster. And we don't want anyone to be either harmed in this process or for that to be a trigger and cause more damage to the relationship. So we will walk families through that of like, hey, maybe there's some unresolved grief or your own trauma that you want to address first. The last one that I would say that is common here in Arizona for us with kind of our military bases around is our military families who are going to be deployed within like a couple of years. Okay. So part of that is not because we don't love our military. We absolutely do. But, this process we've talked about, right, can take 6, 9, even 12 months, and then the matching. But also for these kids is they absolutely need that stability and consistency. And a lot of them are already receiving services so they have a therapist that they've been connected to. And so we have to just be mindful of if we're not going to be able to match and finalize before you're deployed, that's a barrier. But two, after the child is placed is, are we changing their entire environment again and taking them away from the services? Are you going to be deployed in a place where you have access to services? We have some families being deployed overseas where they don't have access to therapy. So being mindful of those things. So it's not a no, it's just those are the types of things that we want to explore with families that may be deployed.
So to kind of summarize it, what would you say are like the 3 questions to maybe ask yourself and your spouse, your family, before you step forward?
Yeah, I would say just doing a little check-in, like a well-being check-in in my family of, are my kids doing okay? This has been a tough year for everyone, right? Kids are struggling, but like, are we okay? Do we have good open communication? Can we share our thoughts and feelings? Because we've talked about that before. That's our number one predictor for kids in the home being successful after adoption. Checking just finances. Are we in a good place? Do we have the additional funds to care for another child? Knowing that we might have to pay some additional expenses or pay for our own therapy, things like that. And then just, are we planning to stay put? Can we provide that stability and consistency that a child being adopted would need?
Well, thanks, Michelle. That was really great. And I'll see you in the new year.
Yes.
We're going to take next week off, and we'll continue back up through January, starting on January 12th. So be sure to check out our next orientation sessions. We're going to continue to have these, and you can go to understandingadoption.org to get that information. And thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your year, and we'll see you in the new year. Bye.